everyone, and welcome to Lake Erie College Fine Arts Focus. From the campus, I'm your host, Professor Paul Gothard, Director of Fine Arts. Stay with me for the next quarter hour as we take an in-depth look at the activities and productions, personalities, and programs of the fine arts at Lake Erie College. Continuing with his series on the music of Hugo Wolf, here is our guest commentator, Dr. Andrew White.
Thank you, Professor Gothard. Welcome to this second program in a series commemorating the centenary of the death of the great master of the German Lied, Hugo Wolf, in which we compare the way Wolf sets a text with the approach to the same text taken by a famous predecessor. Today we will be comparing Wolf with Franz Schubert. These two composers are like the bookends of the genre. The German language art song known as the Lied blossomed in the 19th century with Schubert at its inception and Wolf towards its decline. The two composers had much in common. Both lived most of their lives in Vienna. Both were short in stature, remained bachelors throughout their lives, and, tragically, both died young, Schubert at the age of 31 in 1828 and Wolf at the age of 43 in 1903, of syphilis, the AIDS of their day. Schubert is sometimes called the first great lieder composer, not because there were no great lieder before him, but because he was the first of the famous masters to really take the genre seriously. There are many wonderful songs by Beethoven, Haydn, and Mozart, Schubert's immediate predecessors, but for them, song composition was more recreational. When they really had something important to say musically, they would write a symphony or an opera or a mass or maybe a chamber work. Lieder was just a pleasant diversion for them, but for Schubert, it was a vehicle for his most profound expression. For this reason, he is credited with elevating the genre from its status as mere entertainment to the loftier agency of high art. Today we will be dealing with a short poem by the most towering figure of the German Romantic movement, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Entitled Wanderers Nachtlied 1, to distinguish it from another Goethe poem with the same title, this Wanderer's Night Song features several themes typical of the German Romantic movement, themes which were particularly attractive to Schubert. The idea of wandering as a means of seeking consolation, for instance, is also the central theme of Schubert's monumental song cycle Winterreise, Winter's Journey, and although it is referred to as sweet peace, the consolation sought here, as in Winterreise, is clearly the release from this world that comes only with death. You who are sent from heaven, who stills all sorrow and pain, he, the doubly wretched, is by you doubly filled with delight. Ah, I am tired of striving. For what purpose is all this pain and joy? Sweet peace, come, come into my breast. Notice how Goethe postpones naming the agent of relief until the penultimate line. In the heartfelt setting by Schubert which you are about to hear, notice the change in the music that corresponds to this revelation at the words Süßer Friede, or sweet peace. As in all the performances for this series, I am in collaboration here with pianist Dominic Intili. Schubert postpones the entrance of the principal melody until the words Süßer Friede, rendering all that comes before essentially as a long introduction in something of a recitative style. Here, as so often with Schubert, mastery is attained with but a few strokes. Now let us turn to Wolf's setting. Wolf also creates an introductory feeling for that which precedes Süßer Friede, but instead of using a sort of recitative aria type approach, he uses harmonic relationships. The whole first half of the song is in the key of the dominant, the key based on the 5th degree of the scale instead of the 1st. Tonic, the home key, isn't reached until just before Süßer Friede. This gives the first half an up-in-the-air sort of feeling, and I think you'll feel a sense of finally coming home when the opening melody returns in the tonic and the piano part, just before Süßer Friede is sung to what is now a counter melody. Wolf creates a feeling of yearning right from the start, with a rising melody in the piano introduction. Dum, da, da, dee, dee, dee. Da, 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 dee, dee, dee. Intensifying this feeling is Wolf's use of chromaticism, that is, lots of movement by half-steps, such as Alles Leid und Schmerzen still ist, or Ach, ich bin des Treibens müde. And there, on the müde, we have an expressive appoggiatura, a non-harmonic tone, that is, a note outside the prevailing harmony which yearns for resolution. Wolf uses non-harmonic tones throughout this song to create a feeling of longing or yearning. His use of these devices in this song calls to mind the music of Gustav Mahler, a personal friend of Wolf's since his early days in the Vienna Conservatory. But unlike Mahler, Wolf's long chromatic lines never draw a syllable out over any more than two notes. Mahlerian or Brahmsian style melismas, drawing a single syllable out over many notes, were anathema to Wolf, who sought to render the text truthfully and naturally, as free from such self-serving distortions as possible. The passionate, overheated atmosphere of the Wolf song reflects the post-Wagnerian attitude towards death. The poetic double entendre inherent in the idea of dying had the lovers in Tristan und Isolde longing for death, and the final scene in that music drama is consummated with the Liebestod, or love-death. Schubert's longing for death carried no such proto-Freudian subtext. Again we see how the composer's era is reflected in his approach to the text, both conceptually and in terms of musical style. Thank you for joining us. Tune in again next week when we will be comparing one of Wolf's most famous songs with a setting of the same text by Robert Franz.
Thank you for joining me this week. Tune in next time for another look into the fine arts at Lake Erie College. This is your host, Professor Paul Gothard. I'll see you then.